Ow now, brown cow. Ow now, brown cow. The arsonist has oddly shaped feet.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
Welcome to the next podcast, everybody. Dr. Gabriel, Dr. AJ, Awaken Chiropractic. Excited to have you here. We got a special one. I'm coming from my kitchen today. I'm at home. On my second week of paternity leave. Dr. AJ's running the show at the practice. Man, how's the week's been at the practice these last 2 weeks?
So far, so good. You know, your presence is obviously missed, but everyone's asking a lot of questions about little baby. We got your picture up front now, so, you know, you're missed, but everything's great. Everyone's still getting adjusted. We're still clearing interference. It's a good time around here.
I love that, man. When we first started the practice, my vision was to always create something that outlasted me. I was blessed with chiropractic. I honestly believe chiropractic saved my life. I had such an intense injury back in 2004, and I just wasn't receiving the care that I needed. And my dad took me to his chiropractor because his chiropractor was bold enough to say, hey, your son broke his femur. His toe was touching his head. He's got a rod in there. Let me take a look and see what I can do to help. And he was bold enough to ask my dad to bring me in. And it was the first time after the very first visit, I was like, holy crap, this exists? Like I can actually feel better. Like I can actually like address why it's happening, not just treat the symptom and get drugged up and do a couple of stretches and exercise. So when we opened the practice, the whole point was to bring that breakthrough to the masses, right? And we're just getting started, brother. But I never wanted it to be something. I didn't want people to get adjusted by Dr. Gabriel. I wanted people to get adjusted by chiropractors, right? So it means a lot to have people like you, Dr. Jordan, the staff, you know, on my side and on this journey with us to bring principled chiropractic to the masses, man.
It's, yeah, you said it best, you know. It doesn't matter whether it's you or me, as long as people are getting adjusted and just living a better, higher quality of life. You know, I was telling your story to somebody just yesterday, you know, between what it did for me, what it did for you, and what it's done for so many of our practice members. It's awesome stuff.
Yeah. I think it's really great too. Like how big of a fight early on when we first brought you on, how big of a fight was it to get people to be like, okay to have somebody besides me adjusting them? It was a little bit of a fight, and then the mass majority of everybody has been like, oh yeah, it's like pretty much exactly the same. Like your guys is, you know, he's got really soft hands because, you know, you're an indoor kid, but
no calluses here. Very smooth.
Besides that, like they're like the adjustment's the exact same, and that's because you and I and Dr. Jordan as well, we train very, very hard to make sure that we're interchangeable, right? Torque release technique as its own is completely interchangeable. It doesn't change where we get adjusted, whether it's you, me, Dr. Jordan, anybody adjusting. It's going to be the exact same adjustment every single time that person needs in that moment. So I think it's a testament to the hard work that we've put in, but I also love the fact that people are okay getting adjusted by chiropractors, principled chiropractors. So thank you, brother.
It's an honor to be a part of this. It's a lot of fun. Why are you out of the office? Something happened recently?
Yeah, man.
Oh, you had a baby.
Had a baby. We got a family, 4 kids now. So last Friday morning, I think it was Friday morning, Maggie wakes me up at 5 a.m. She's like, hey, I've been contracting since 3:30. Just wanted you to know. Now, keep in mind, over the last couple of pregnancies that we've had, she slowly, she would labor for a few hours and then it'd stop for the night. And she'd labor over the next night for a few hours and it'd stop. So it was completely normal and slowly progress over a couple of weeks. So I was like, oh yeah, well, try to go back to sleep, try to get your rest. We know the most important thing, just let your body heal down. Knowing that her parents had to make a 5-hour trip to come grab the kids. Thankfully, our nanny was able to do that because I drew her a bath and I start hearing from the bedroom, I'm trying to go back to sleep, thinking this is just another morning, you know, I was dead set, our kid was going to be a few more days. I was like, if it's not leap year, baby, which we missed out on by 8 hours.
Just barely.
Yeah. It's going to be a few more days. I didn't think we were ready. Right. And from the bathroom, I start hearing the labor moans and I'm like, we got to call your mom. She's like, yeah, call my mom. So we call the midwife and talking to her. I'm like, hey, what do you think? Like, she's not really wanting to, like, she's talking between the contractions, but at the same time, like, she's starting to feel like the need, like a lot of pressure, like she needs to push. And typically for anybody that's going through their first labor, if mom's talking between contractions, she ain't ready to go. Take your time, rest, lay down, let the body just continue to progress. Got a little lapse in audio. Do you hear me okay?
Yeah, something
Okay.
something cut out there for a second, but
make sure if mom's talking in between contractions, it's most likely not time yet, right? Once she starts closing her eyes and breathing in between contractions, you're probably getting close. So with her having that intense feeling of needing to push, the nanny got there, we got all our bags packed, we went over to the hospital. Emmanuel, which they did such an amazing job, brother. Emmanuel, I really love your cup, by the way, man. They got that Awaken logo on the bottom.
oh yeah, that's a custom edition.
Nice. We got there and she got checked and she was 8 centimeters dilated, right? And she got to get to 10 before baby's going to come. But then after a couple of pushes, like where she was contractions, her water broke, and she's like, man, I got a lot of pressure. And she pushed a couple of times and baby was out. And such a drastic experience because our other labors had lasted so long. It just, the body had progressed so slowly over time. It was like, man, I was sleeping 3.5 hours ago. So we're really grateful for that, though. Completely unmedicated birth, labored, what does that end up being, 6 hours or something like that, 5.5 hours, start to finish. And, we're back home now. We're healing. We're taking a few weeks. Grandparents took the other 3 kids. That was quite the experience, having the kids come into the hospital. You should have seen those 3 kids come into the hospital. It was a freaking party. But we had a lot of fun, man. So just calming and healing now, man. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. How was baby's first adjustment? That newborn.
Well, baby got adjusted immediately. And so, all the nurses are in there and everything, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, I'm talking within a minute or two. Like, baby Zoe, her name's Zoe Lane, and she got put on Maggie's chest, and I'm like up and over, and I'm just gently, I'm talking about like the pressure to see if a tomato is ripe. I'm just checking her upper cervical, or top couple of bones region. And I found a drastic torsion of the top vertebrae to the right, just choking off, right? Way up top. And it's not like with my other kids where I adjusted and there was like this amazing change, right? Like Olin, like inhaled, like for the first time, took a deep breath, not just this shallow breathing, right? But I was adjusting her and she adjusted amazing, just light pressure, that bone slid back in. And it's incredible to me what's the right way to say this? How little the medical profession knows about what we do. We got women, we got nurses working in that hospital that see hundreds of women birth. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women birth and never seen a pediatric adjustment before. Are you kidding me? How much of a disservice is our profession doing? I was telling Maggie on the way home, I was like, I almost just want to make it like a daily thing that I stop by that hospital. I adjust every friggin' baby that's in that place because every single one needs it, because we know the majority of births have a cervical misalignment that goes undiagnosed. That baby grows up disconnected, subluxated, diseased, and is ultimately put into the system where they're drugged and shortened of quality of life long term. Get those babies adjusted, every single one, every single time. I would do that. I would let you run the show at Awaken just so I could stay at that hospital and adjust all the friggin' babies, man. It was great. It was a great adjustment.
I could just feel your passion. I know you would do that. They would probably have to ask you to leave eventually because you were like, well, people are going to keep giving birth. I got babies to adjust. They're like, sir, you're going to need to sleep at some point. You're like, nope.
I said, I'm moving in.
Just the resident baby adjuster. I think that's a good plan.
Yeah. We're we're blessed to be able to have the ability to check and correct, right? And that went for mom too. I want to talk about mom's adjustment too, because I think mom's adjustment, especially postpartum, but even during labor, the technique is called Webster technique. Webster technique is an analysis of the pelvis that checks for alignment. I want you to think about the pelvis like a trampoline, right? The trampoline has a frame with the coils that hold the the actual jumpy trampoline part, right? Well, the pelvis has all these ligaments that suspend the uterus in place. And so if the pelvis torques, which we know they do, guys, if your wife is pregnant, ask her if her hips hurt. Ask her if she feels like her hips are torqued. They are, right? And when they torque, it's like torquing the frame of a trampoline. You won't have equal pulling from all sides, so you won't have a nice, tight, suspended trampoline portion, jumpy portion. What do you call that part? I don't know. But imagine if the pelvis shifts, all those ligaments putting torsion on the uterus. No wonder babies aren't comfortable and they go posterior or breech, or it's, they won't go head down. It's because their environments completely change. So by checking with Webster, we're able to address the alignment of the pelvis. Man, I'm getting a lot of airflow here.
Oh, the AC just kicked on.
I'm glad it's working though. It's nice that we have to turn it on.
Yes.
But by getting proper alignment of the pelvis, we have proper stability of the ligaments holding the uterus. So it creates a nice, healthy environment for a baby, right? So we don't work with breech babies, but when we create a healthy environment for the mom's pelvis to hold the uterus, breech babies go head down.
Yeah.
So if you know somebody that's baby is breech, get them to a neurologically based chiropractor. We'll get that baby head down.
When do we use that in the office? Is Webster just for pregnant moms?
No, and I love telling our men that too. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do a little advanced analysis of your hips today, which primarily we use it on our pregnant moms, but and they always get a good laugh. Right?
I do the same thing. Anytime there's some sciatic issues or maybe IT banding, they're just on their feet a lot. It's one of those things that we use in that scenario as well. I do the same thing. I'm like, this is primarily used for that hip stabilization for mom, baby, and a lot of that late trimester work. But we're going to use it on your day.
Yeah.
A couple adjustments later, they're like, that was great. That was amazing.
Yeah. There's what I've found is like people love it, right? Like once you go Webster, you don't go back. Like you just me Webster pretty much every single time with the injuries that I've had in my life. And Webster's an incredible tool. Now, if your nervous system's not working, we're not going to use it early on in care. First phase of care, the halt phase, if you're in that phase, we're not going to do a lot of that type of work because your nervous system doesn't have the capacity to handle it. But as time moves on, we want to get your joints moving again, right? The tone of your nerves firing appropriately will cause your muscles to pull your hips back in and keep them there. But getting them there in the beginning, like with Webster in the beginning, is a crucial step. So there's a lot to that. So for me, I've been adjusted since 2004, and I still have flare-ups, right? And we hear a lot of people are like, some people get discouraged because they're like, they get better, and then they're like, they think because they have a flare-up that they're worse, right? Yeah. And they think that they're just doing this. And that's not the truth. There's a handful of different types of ways people heal. Some people, are stair steppers and they plateau over times and they take another stair step up. Can you discuss with us the 4 kinds of healers and how to handle it if you feel like you're plateauing in our office?
Yeah, so the 4 most common types we see in our office. Obviously, the first one's going to be our skyrocketers. A couple of adjustments in, they start feeling really good right away, and they just keep on that trajectory. That's great. I wish everyone healed that way. It's almost immediate reaction from the body. Another common one we see is after those first few adjustments, people will start to release a lot of that pent-up stress and tension, and they'll do a little dip. They'll detox a little bit. Their body is basically finally having the capacity to overcome and deal with all that stress they've been maintaining or holding on to or staying away from. So it's kind of like cleaning out the closet. We got to take all that junk out before we neatly put it back in. So we're going to do a little dip before we start to climb. Our dormant healers, it's going to take a long time to break through. Maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. And then we start that climb. Most commonly, though, we're going to be that consistent stair step. Each couple phases of care that we go through, each couple of adjustments, we can have a breakthrough, feel good for a while, and then we feel like nothing's happening. And then boom, another step. What people don't understand, though, is these steps are different lengths. Sometimes in the beginning, we're so subluxated, we have so much stress that we climb a bunch of stairs really fast. And then year 2, year 3, those stairs are much longer. So it's not a plateau. We're still on the staircase. We just have to keep strengthening the nervous system to get through some of those really deep, long-term chronic stresses that our body's been holding on to. Like for you have a rod in your femur. been adjusted for 20 years. Some people come in their 50s and we're trying to correct 40 years of stress. Those stairs can take some time, but it's not a plateau. If we stick to the recommendations and we stay consistent, it's just a longer step than it was originally. So it can be a little discouraging, but we have a lot of people that ask us about that. And we like to just kind of sit them down and talk about where they're at. And as long as we're climbing the stairs, whether we're sprinting up them or walking up them, as long as we're still climbing, that's a win.
Yeah, the pursuit of growth, right? We've talked about that a lot in our team meetings. Is like, it's not about the destination, it's about the process of healing. Are you in a position where your body's moving towards improvement, right? So let's say you're working with somebody that's discouraged. They think they are plateaued. What type of stuff do you recommend for them to control the variables to help them take the next step up? What types of things are we looking at to progress?
Well, first things first, we're going to look at where they're at in care, what phase of care they're in. If they're in that maintenance wellness portion of care where most people that have these questions are, um, they feel like it's been a little repetitive. They feel like chiropractic's really doing as much as it used to. That's when we'll look at the big picture. Chiropractic can do incredible things for the body. But, like you said before, you can't work out a bad diet. You can't adjust a bad lifestyle. So we look at the whole picture. There's so many other little things we can do adjunct to chiropractic to eat well, move well, sleep well, drink well, think well. If we're doing something that's causing extra stress in life in one of those categories, we should figure out what that is, reduce that, and just bring that body back to that level of stress capacity over stress we're experiencing, and just keep that gap as big as possible so we can just keep climbing the stairs.
Yeah. A lot of people want the result, but are not willing to be like de-disciplined to the point where they can act in a way that gets them the result, right? We talked about in a couple of podcasts ago, we said it's never going to be easier than right now for your body to heal. It's only going to take more. Tomorrow, it's going to take more than it took today. And in a week, it's going to take more than it's going to take tomorrow. So you might want to get to work immediately. So if you feel like you're plateaued, potentially the work that it took you to get here is not the work that it takes to get there. Ooh. Which you should be like, honestly, we should be in a place where we're willing to become more disciplined. We're willing to give more. We're willing to be more for the people around us. So I'm going to leave us with this, Doc. I got every Wednesday, I've got this men's group. We meet quarterly in person. The whole point is, as we opened up Awaken, I never wanted to sacrifice my family for the practice to be healthy. Like, I wanted to serve people. I wanted Awaken to be something that added years to people's life and life to years, but never at the sacrifice of being a husband, being a father, being a brother and a son. And one of my buddies, he practices just like we do. Like, you could walk into his practice if you were down in Texas, you could walk into his practice and get adjusted, be like, oh, this is just Awaken South, right? And he was talking the other day about, how detail oriented he is, and how, when he's not in his best, it can be extremely exhausting to be around. He's like, when I'm at my best, I am an inspiring man. I'm inspiring. I make everybody around me better. He's like, when I'm not at my best, I'm exhausting to be around. He's like, I wouldn't want to work for me. And I'm like, man, I feel the same way, brother, because I care so much that the details matter. And the details do matter, right? But when I'm taking care of myself, man, that comes off in an extremely inspiring way. So then I started thinking about that from a personal standpoint, in our personal relationships. The work that we put in to be at our best. Ask your significant other, ask your spouse, ask your children if you can have this type of conversation. You're like, am I exhausting or am I inspiring? If they say you're exhausting sometimes, your job is to sacrifice, like, between now and whenever you set your goal. I usually make them 3 months at a time, right? And you go through the lifestyle page. We talk about setting goals on our website, wakenomaha.com. And set some goals to become more disciplined so you can be in a place where you're inspiring your family on the daily, not exhausting your family.
It's a tightrope you walk sometimes, because it's real fun to be that, incredibly motivated, inspiring person. But like you said, when you're not doing the right stuff to be that version, you and I can be a little exhausting when we're not at our best.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So people ask like all the time, like, especially if you're in business, they say like, what's your target market? Who are the people that you take care of? A lot of people, like my buddies, are like, oh, we're a pediatric practice, or oh, we're a sports chiropractor. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we take care of athletes. We take care of a ton of pregnant moms and one of the largest pediatric practices in the state. You want to know who we take care of?
Human beings.
We human beings that care about always being in a place that they can protect and serve their family. Human beings that care more about the future version of themselves than their current version of themselves. That's our target market. The people who are willing to put in the work because we have the solution. And we'll say it again, to add years to life and life to years, guys. So I appreciate you guys watching for this podcast. A little longer today, 21 minutes. I'll take it, though. People have been telling us they like the length of our podcast, man. I love you guys. Dr. AJ, thanks for running the show. Dr. Jordan, thanks for showing up like you always do, brother. We love you guys. Team sacrificing hard, guys. So when you're in the office getting adjusted, make sure you're loving on them. Understand that they're working hard for you to make sure that all the things necessary for you to get care, you don't have to think about. And they make it look real easy. But I got to tell you, they are working extremely hard. So show them some love, guys. We'll see you in the practice. See ya.
Bye.